I'm Cody Wheelock with Fountain Atelier Art Instruction Studio in Lee Summit, where I do a lot of art coaching, that type of thing. Check out the site right here, fountainatelier.com, and you can learn more. The goal with these live streams is to go live once a month and do about 45 minutes to an hour of just drawing or sketching and painting in real time. A lot of the videos I post on YouTube are edited, so you get a snapshot of that process, but hopefully this will give you a chance to see it in real time where you can just kind of relax and follow along. And if you have any questions, make sure that you leave a comment in the comment box below, and I will definitely try to answer it as we go. So with that being said, let's go ahead and look at the reference that I'm going to use for this piece here. So this is a shot that I took when my wife and I were in upstate New York this summer. Now, I did a whole series of Hudson River School videos. If you haven't got a chance to look at those, I'd encourage you to do so. But this was an awesome spot. So this is called, there we go. So this was called Ozable Canyon, and it was a big canyon, as the title implies, in New York, cut through the rocks, which I don't really think of canyons being in New York, but here it is. And at this spot, I was getting ready to do a via ferrata, which is kind of like a high ropes course, except you're instead of being up in the tops of the trees, you're kind of hanging off the side of a cliff. And as we turned the bend at the beginning of the course, and look to the side, this is kind of what we saw, kind of the dam up there on the river, and then the old pump house, and then all the rapids coming down. So it was a really cool scene. And so I knew right away I wanted to do a big painting of this. But before I do paintings, I always like to do drawings first, just to kind of work out the composition and the kinks. So that's what I'm going to do today. A little bit of sketching in my sketchbook. Let me get that set up here in just a second. All right, so I've got my sketchbook set up here. This is what I've been using lately, and it works really good. So I've got this little leather portfolio. Everything fits real nice in here, and so I can take it with me. One of the keys to sketching regularly is to make it easy. Don't make it difficult to get your stuff. So I have all of my stuff in here. So I've got a number of pencils, pens. When I am sketching on location, I like to use mechanical pencils, so I don't have to sharpen them with a knife like we do here in the studio. This happens to be a Stadler lead holder, which works really good. It's kind of worn off right there. And then I like this toned paper because it allows me to use some white gel pens with this. So I went ahead and I sharpened my pencils earlier. So we've got a nice, should have a nice sharp tip here. And let's go ahead and open this up and get started. Now I'm going to just kind of sketch, and I might provide a little bit of commentary here and there, but otherwise feel free to pop in and leave a question, comment as I go. And we will get started here. Every once in a while, I will post the photo up on the side here for you. In fact, let's see if we can do that now. There we go. Let's brighten this up a little bit. Start by making a format here. I don't want to use this area. And since this is my first time doing this live, if something looks funny or you can't hear anything or whatever, leave a comment and I will look into it and try and get it fixed. I kind of like this long vertical format here. I always talk to my students about is starting simple with the big general shapes and getting more specific from there. Don't start out with the little details. So the trees come down here on the side. Come out from there. So the pencil I'm using right now is a 2H, in case you're wondering. Lay things in. And with this particular drawing, I'm not going to do a lot of careful measuring and that type of thing because it is just a sketch. This big dark mass right here is important, so let's make sure that stays in. My format's just a little bit narrower than the reference, so I'm not going to be able to put in quite as much on the rough side. But I'm going to remove this. middle here. What's interesting is this whole area right around here, including this big rock, is just kind of one big dark shape. So that's how I'm going to do it. Now there's more detail going on over here, but I'm going to just fill that in I want all of this to feel like it's really far back in the distance. So I'm not gonna, I know it's pretty dark in this spot on the reference, right over in this area, but I think I'm gonna go a lot lighter than it really is, just to give the feeling of depth. And I'll go through and detail all this out later, but just getting it laid in for now. Just be a little bit darker than the side of this house. Pump house. This is a little white stream of water coming out. Those are going to be important. Preserve that. Really want these two to separate, so I'm going to have to add some contrast there. So this is going to go a little bit darker than what it is. You know, we talked about this in my classes quite a bit, the importance of simplification, and not every reference, even though this reference here is like a good reference, not every reference is a ready-made perfect painting, so, or drawing, or whatever. A lot of times you're going to have to doctor it a little bit and do some artistic license to create better composition. So that's what I'm doing as I go throughout this process. Hey, Evan, what's up, man? Thanks for hopping on. I'm not the best multitasker in the world, but I will try to look over at my comments every minute or two and happy to answer any questions anyone has. I'll be on here until about 4 o'clock, so if you know anyone who might enjoy watching and following along, here going. Now, as I go through this, one thing to keep in mind that I'm trying to keep in mind is I will be using these little white, these little white gel pens as well to kind of add more contrast. This is kind of for some reason it's looking a little blue in the picture, but let's see if we can fix that. There we go. And what's interesting is this whole area down here is very similar value-wise. There's not a lot of change. So I'm going to kind of try to capture the character of a lot of those rocks without overdoing it, if that makes sense. Rock right here. Now, another thing that we talk about a lot in my classes with students is, rocks are great because they provide a lot of structure, which is helpful. Foliage there, just going to add a little bit of detailing. I need to recreate every detail in the area there, but just want to give the feel. Darken this area up and create a lot of contrast down here because it's the area that's closest to us, and the more contrast there is, the closer it will feel. But as you can see, I tend to hop around a little bit with my sketches here. I don't stay in one place for too terribly long. Just going through, and again, there's a lot of detail down here with rocks, so I'm just going to try and look at some of the shadows that I'm seeing and replicate a few of those. Not to replicate it exactly, but just to give the feel of those areas. and just work on the right side. Now I mentioned I was using a 2H pencil. I'll actually go in with a softer pencil and kind of do some of the dark stuff. Now this area right here is kind of the focal area, I would say. So I want there to be nice strong contrast right there. So I'm going to darken this rock here up maybe even a little bit more than it is in the reference. This down here is actually all water, but it's pretty close in value to those rocks. Everyone who works with me knows that I like to say that values are always more important than color and whatnot. And doing these little pencil sketches, just small little, maybe a little bit bigger than a thumbnail sketch, but still pretty small, or a great way to just kind of play around with all these different things. The water is really swirling around the bottom of these rapids, so I'm going to try and feel that, knowing that I'm going to come in with that white pen later and really add some lighter values. One thing that you notice in this particular waterfall is that on the vertical part of the waterfall, it's a little bit darker than this area down here, and that's because the light's coming from above, right? So the value down here is going to be lighter because it's directly facing the light source, whereas the falls themselves are going to be just a little bit darker because it's not facing the light sources directly. So I'm going to go ahead and fill these in. Just in case anyone's popped on, thanks for stopping in. If you have any questions, let me know. This is just a really relaxed hour or so of sketching time here, and I'm happy to answer anything that you might have. Open that just a little bit. This rock here. There's one falls up here that are a little bit darker. I'm going to try to upload some more music in the background, that way it's not the same stuff. Yeah, Don, good question. So the question is, do I stay with the 2H or do I use a softer pencil as I progress? So typically what I do is I will use even harder than that when I'm doing a studio drawing, a more finished drawing. I'll use a 5H, 6H, 4H, and then build my values up from there. For something like this, just in a sketchbook. I'll start with this lead, which is a 2H, and then I will progress to probably an HB for the softer stuff. But since it's just a sketch and I'm trying to keep my materials as limited as possible, I just stick with a 2H and an HB for my sketch setup, and that seems to do the trick pretty well. Zoom this back in a little bit. Good question though, Don. I'll probably come in here with a metered eraser too, shortly, and pick out some highlights and whatnot. And there's another rock back here, an area where it's a little bit, there's some more white water till you get back in this direction. One thing I have to remember with doing this on toned paper is that the paper is one of my boundaries. So I want to make sure to not, not completely eliminate it. It's going to stand in as a value, especially when I get my white in. Kind of a darker area right in through here. Now again, I'm actually going to go darker down here than I am right here because I want it to feel like it's farther back, but I do need to go darker. And again, simplify, simplify, simplify. Don't need to crazy with detail, just enough that we know that this is the grouping of rock and trees back here. Also, doing big groupings of trees like this can be a little chaotic. There's a lot going on, and so if you can, try to look for big shapes and try to simplify stuff and organize it as much as possible. So that it just doesn't look like a gobbly strip. Be just a little bit of shadow right here. That might be, pretty good for that area. I don't know. I'll probably leave it and come back to it later. So there are two streams drawn in. As I said, I want to preserve those white areas. I'll use the pen for that. So I just will fill in the spaces between the waterfalls. Now, this is a problem area right here because this little cliff of this waterfall is back there is pretty far back. So I want it to stand out from this. I know it's not quite this dark in the reference, but I'm going to go ahead and darken this up that way. Get some separation. I always want variety, so I don't want any of these tree profiles to be too similar, too long. A little bit, still separating. There's another little waterfall back here, but it's really faint, so I'll just leave it out. Distance, hillside and the trees. I'll probably just let the paper, the value of the paper stand in for that. Now, it's really easy to go crazy with stuff like architecture and buildings, go nuts on the detail, and I don't want to worry about that too much with this one. It's so far in the back. Let's see. Do you ever cut the tip of an eraser to a shape? Use a mono zero eraser for touching up small areas. Yeah, I've done that before with these clicker erasers, and I actually don't have one of those little tiny clicker erasers. I usually use a community eraser when I need to do something really detailed. I'll probably pull one of those out here. But yeah, definitely that's a great option. Good suggestion there. Darker towards the bottom side of this building. Now it's going to be hard to indicate with this so the water right here, this stream is actually coming out of a pipe in that pump house, because I believe one of the ways it works is that the channel in the river here was channeled in through this building where the all of the mechanisms were that generated power and all of that, and then it was discharged through a little pipe here. Of course, if I were doing this bigger, it'd be easier to show that. Okay, so that's at least a good start for that. And I'm going to go in with a softer pencil now. So I've got a HB lead in this, the standard mechanical pencil. I'll go in here and just some of these darker areas start to really darken those values before I go in with an eraser, touch things up, and then go with my highlights. Grab a needed eraser. Add some details around the top edge of this. Now there's a lot of detailing right in this area here. It's almost like a little triangle. Maybe a rock over here. I'll be releasing my show schedule for the year here pretty soon. So if you're not subscribed to my newsletter, my list, make sure you go to the site and do that. I'll be traveling a little bit more this year, I think, which will be exciting. And as a new addition to the inventory in my shows, I'm going to actually include several of these little drawings. Something different and fun. Different than what I did last year. Now I know this rock doesn't look exactly like the one there. Again, you know, this is a sketch, trying to get the feel of these rocks, the feel of this scene, not worried about trying to match it perfectly like I would if it was a studio. Even then, you want to leave some room for interpretation and whatnot. Darken that up, so I don't have to darken up some shapes. I'll get to the, in case you're wondering when the heck I'm going to start using the white pen, because that's when things really start to stand out and look nice. I'll do that here shortly. As you know, if you do any drawing or painting yourself, everything is relative. So if you darken one area, then you got to darken other areas. if I were spending more time on this and making it a studio painting, this little foreground area with all these rocks would be kind of fun to really dive into. I'm gonna change this and give us just a little bit of a feel of that. It's moving away from us. Add some perspective lines here to help with that. You know, the cool thing, I just thought about this, but when I do these, I'll leave the reference up on the screen there so you can kind of see what I'm looking at. It would be kind of fun if you, in future live streams, you know, got out a sketch pad and maybe sketched along with me. That would be a blast. If you think that's a horrible idea, you can let me know in the comments. If you think it's a good idea, let me know in the comments. Okay, looking at this now, maybe I will go ahead and start to put in some highlight areas. Just a second. Switch. No, I think how these rocks are lining up a little bit too close. They're too uniform. Move this one over. Cool. No, I'm glad you like the photo reference. Being left up. I'll definitely do that in future streams. By the way, if any of you like tech, streaming, that type of thing, I really encourage you to check out this software I'm using called StreamYard. It's really powerful. Allows you to do all sorts of neat streaming things like what I'm doing now with the picture-in-picture and banner overlays and all sorts of things. So, and this is actually, they have a free plan. This is the free plan, so you can do all this without spending anything, which is great. All right, I promised I didn't lie to you. I'm going to put up that. I'm going to use my white now. All right, so to do this, I like to use these little jelly roll pens. Tried a few different things, but these tend to work really good. I don't think they're necessarily intended for this, but I like this 0.8 size. It's nice and fine. I like to come over here to the side and just test it out, but you can see the contrast immediately. Paper there. All right, so what I'm going to do, again, we want the main focal area to have the most contrast. That's probably this area over here, like I mentioned. Move this rock around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in those really high value spots. So it's a gel pen, so it comes out real thick like that. And so I'll use my finger to kind of blot it up just a little bit. I don't want to smudge everything around, but that helps me control it just a little bit because it is ink. So once you get it down, it's not coming up. And the trick is to keep all those value relationships in mind as we do this. the water is going to have a bit of a swirly texture to it. So in the whitewater areas, the foam. So I'm going to try and recreate that with the pen to an extent. Rock This, if you remember, is kind of in shadow over here, so I'm going to be really careful with how much I add. Should line up a little bit better with that rock. I can erase the rock, I can't erase the very well. Sometimes the gel will dry a little bit on the tip, so I will take it off inside. Remember, this is in the shadow here, so I don't want to go crazy. Something that's hard about drawing water is you want to keep that kind of smooth appearance, which is tough to do. It's easier to do with paint, to be honest with you, because you can manipulate those edges a little bit better. Down here it gets really bright, so I'm going to go ahead and hit this a little bit heavier. I'm using my finger to try and soften. Edge right there. The water's kind of rushing through the rock. space because I want to make sure the viewer understands that the fall area in the base of the fall is connected. But there's still a value change there, so I'm going to go in and just real lightly go over it. Highlight this water coming out up here. I mentioned I do these in preparation for larger studio pieces or larger paintings, even if they're not full-on studio pieces. My studies that I do. And a lot of times, you know, if these little drawings go well, then I can feel confident that I'm not going to be wasting my time doing the painting. Because the painting still doesn't take real long, but it's a lot more involved just to get, you know, colors and all of that. I'll leave compost the value of the paper. Just quite a bit. I'll darken this side up a little. What I will do is probably kind of darken this one. Yeah, good point with the white chalk versus the gel pen. So the white chalk is definitely, I could use that too, and do a little bit more blending with it even. But I like the look of the ink on the paper here, and you know, I might do, you know, experiment with chalk here and there, and I've used the chalk plenty before on just regular drawings, not just sketching on the clean paper. But I really like the pen. It's always there. You don't have to sharpen it. But I try to keep back up. Now the water here, I'm just going to leave that value of the paper. But it does get, you know, a little bit darker as I move down this way. There's more detail going on in here. I really need to flesh out if I had more time. Now we're about out of time for our stream today. So would I call this a completely finished sketch in its current state? No, probably not. But it's well on its way. It still needs some work. But I said that this was going to be an hour, so I want to keep it to that. I'll post a image of the finished sketch on my community tab on my YouTube channel, so make sure you check it out there. And if you haven't done so already, I would recommend that you check out my site at www.foundatoday.com and see what that's all about, and subscribe to my newsletter and subscribe to this YouTube channel so that you know when I'm going to do this again. This has been kind of fun, so I think I might do this again here in about a month or so. And the next time, just to keep it fresh, I'll probably do some painting. And I'll maybe try to alternate between drawing and painting. Add a little bit of highlights to the top of these rocks. And I don't want to get too crazy here. But they are facing up toward our light source. I don't want it to get confused with the foam and the light values in the water. Variation. For any of you that do any drawing, you know that it's really hard to stop once you get going. But I'll post the finished product here on my YouTube community page so you can see it. If you're not subscribed, make sure that you subscribe. Call that good. So thanks again for joining for this live stream. I'd love to know what you think. Send me an email, or you can just leave a comment below. And if there's anything specific you'd like to see me do a sketch or painting of, if you have any feedback on how this went, let me know, and I will look forward to seeing you in a month or so. So make sure you subscribe, and see you later.